Carson Hocevar had 0 Cup wins, was driving for a team that had not won in 243 races, and was about to do something at Talladega that no one in NASCAR history has ever celebrated quite like this. And the craziest part? He planned the whole thing before the race even started. Here is exactly how it happened. Before we get into the race itself, you need to understand who Carson Hocevar is, because this win did not come out of nowhere. It came from 91 Cup starts with 0 wins. It came from a kid who grew up in Portage, Michigan, sleeping under a Dale Earnhardt Jr. comforter with Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth memorabilia on his shelves. He tracked his early racing career on an Instagram page called @CHR-Racing, posting iRacing clips before he ever sat in a real stock car. He has been obsessed with NASCAR his entire life, and on Sunday at Talladega Superspeedway, that obsession finally paid off. But here's the thing. The road to this win nearly fell apart before the race even got interesting. NASCAR changed the rules going into this race. To stop drivers from running slow the whole race to save fuel, they created a 98-lap first stage. That is more than half the total race distance. The idea was to force full-speed racing earlier. What actually happened? The opposite. Drivers spent 85 straight minutes under green running well below full speed anyway, bunched up, saving gas, waiting. Joey Logano summed it up perfectly after the race. What do you want? Save fuel or crash? Pick one. Stage 1 went to Ryan Preece. Nothing flashy, just survival. Then Stage 2 opened. Drivers went full throttle, and 10 laps later, everything exploded. Lap 115. Bubba Wallace had been one of the strongest cars all day. He led 3 times. His 23 XY Racing Toyota was fast, and he was in the lead when Ross Chastain gave him a hard push from behind. Wallace's car went loose. He lost it. And when the leader goes sideways at Talladega at 200 miles per hour with 40 cars packed inches apart, there is only one outcome. 26 cars were collected in that crash, 26 out of 40. Ryan Blaney was done. Joey Logano was done. Brad Keselowski was done. Kyle Larson was done. Bubba Wallace, who was making his 300th career Cup start that day, finished outside the top 30 for the 3rd time in 5 races. In one moment, over half the field was either gone or seriously damaged. NASCAR threw a red flag. They stopped the race for 10 minutes. Now here is why that crash matters for what happens next. The cars that survived were not just the lucky ones, they were the ones running smart. Hocevar, in the number 77 Spire Motorsports Chevrolet sponsored by Chili's, came out of it clean. Chris Buescher in the number 17 RFK Racing Ford came out clean. Alex Bowman in the number 48 Hendrick Chevrolet came out clean. These 3 would decide the race. Ross Chastain, the same guy who triggered the big wreck, went on to win Stage 2 over Christopher Bell. But stage wins do not hand you the race at Talladega. What matters is where you are on the final lap. Stay with me here, because this ending is wild. 7 laps from the finish, Hocevar was pushing hard for position when he made contact with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. That contact sent Hocevar's car into Eric Jones, who was running 3rd and helping Buescher build a lead. Jones's number 43 Toyota spun out of turn 4, went through pit entry, and got stuck in the infield grass. Yellow flag. Lap 182. Here is where Hocevar's past experience came back to haunt him and then save him. Earlier this season, Hocevar lost the Daytona 500 at the very end. He said after Talladega that losing Daytona taught him exactly what he needed to do in a 3-lap shootout. He knew which lines worked, he knew how to use a push, he knew when to make the move and when to wait. 3 laps, Hocevar on the bottom, Buescher on the top, side by side the entire time. Alex Bowman stayed glued to Hocevar's bumper, giving him a continuous push that Buescher simply could not match coming off turn 4. Buescher felt it too. He said after the race, "I felt really good where we were coming off turn 4. Felt like we were in a spot to take this Ford into victory lane." He was wrong. Hocevar held the line. Buescher could not clear him. They crossed the finish line with 0.114 seconds between them. Chase Elliott finished 4th. Zane Smith ran 5th and actually posted the fastest lap of the entire race. But none of that mattered to the crowd at Talladega, because what happened next is what everyone was talking about. Remember that celebration at the start of this video? Here is how Hocevar actually pulled it off. He said he had been thinking about it for a while. He briefly detached the steering wheel, dropped the clutch, and used his long legs to reach the throttle while sitting on the doorsill. He kept one hand on the wheel to steer while his entire upper body hung outside the car, pumping his fists and waving at the fans lining the front stretch. The crowd went absolutely crazy. Then he drove the car straight into the outside wall to do a burnout. Then he climbed on the roof. New NASCAR CEO Steve O'Donnell was watching from the track. The place erupted. Jeff Dickerson, co-owner of the number 77 car, watched all of it and laughed. He looked like Shamu hanging out the window. It's just like, man, we're going to get fined after our first one. They probably will. Worth it. Hocevar walked into the post-race media center carrying a massive arch of flowers. Not a trophy, flowers. The kind you see draped over the winner at the Kentucky Derby. Because if you are going to make a statement, you go all the way. Now let us talk about what this win actually means, because the numbers behind it are staggering. Spire Motorsports has existed for over 7 years. In that entire time, they have won exactly 2 Cup races. The first was a rain-shortened race with Justin Haley back in July 2019. Between that win and Sunday's race, Spire went 243 races without a trip to victory lane. 243 races. That is not a small number. That is years of coming close, falling short, and showing up again anyway. Dickerson said it best. We saw a star in the making. And today, it looks like we knew what we were doing. And here's something that puts Spire's position in NASCAR into full picture. They are not a Hendrick Motorsports. They are not a Team Penske. They do not have a factory engine program or a 200-person crew. They are an independent team fighting every single week against organizations that have 10 times their budget and resources. Winning at Talladega, one of the most chaotic and unpredictable tracks on the schedule, is hard enough for the big teams. For Spire, this was not just a win. This was proof that they belong at the top level of this sport, and Hocevar is the reason they can say that out loud now. Hocevar also became the 13th driver in NASCAR history to win their first Cup race at Talladega. That is a short, specific list. The track has a way of making first-time winners, and it made one on Sunday. He also joined Ty Gibbs, who won at Bristol 2 weeks earlier, as the second first-time winner of the 2026 season. 2 brand-new winners in back-to-back weeks on the Cup schedule. The sport is shifting. And here is the part that keeps this from just being a feel-good story. Hocevar has made headlines all season for angering veterans with aggressive moves on the track. He is not universally loved in the garage. He is young, he is confident, and he talks trash. But on Sunday, at the most unforgiving track on the schedule, he did not make a crazy block. He did not punt anyone to win. He used the push he got from Bowman, side-drafted Buescher at the right moment, and crossed the line first cleanly.